The most appealing thing about doing Shaka Zulu was that it was going to give us the opportunity for the first time to bring not only to black audiences, but to white audiences, one of the most important stories of Africa. I think for too long, European audiences, Western audiences, American audiences, have tended to disregard African history. I would venture to say that very few children at school get taught anything about black history because of the arrogance of the West, the inherent arrogance of the European concept that his history is the only one that really matters. And no one has really taken the trouble to look at their black brothers and ask themselves, but what about your background? What about your history? As far as the whites are concerned, and certainly in Southern Africa, there's been a total disregard for black history. So the excitement of this project is that for the first time, although we've seen films like Zulu, great films like Zulu, and later on Zulu Dawn, which touched on the Zulu Empire, the great thing about this production is that it deals directly with the creation of one of the most important black empires ever to exist in Africa. And that, for me, was the excitement of the project. For the first time, we would bring black history right into the homes of white audiences. First of all, I think, from a black point of view, a sense of pride, of dignity, and because of, again, white arrogance regarding black history, people have ignored a very important part of world history. And the story had to be told. I think it was vital for whites, certainly, in Southern Africa, and I hope that they will see this project, to come to terms with a history in their area, which is in many ways more important than their own. Now, when we started researching the project, certain things just didn't make sense to us. And I began to investigate not only the white writings, because unfortunately, history, of course, is always seen through the eyes of the person who is recording it. And in this case, since there's no written history, or since the Zulus themselves had no written history, history was passed down by word of mouth, generation to generation. Our only records were those of the whites. And of course, the whites would judge the people they came into contact by their own moral values. And in this instance, one of our most important sources of reference was Finn, who is one of the characters depicted, and one or two other people. And they would impose their own moral standards. And then again, Shaka, being this heroic figure, although never depicted as such, and when we began our research, things just didn't make sense. And one of them was that a man who was supposedly a tyrant, erratic, bad ruler, according to some of the historical references, could command the respect of a massive empire of people who adhered to his rule something like 500 miles from the center of power willingly, indicated a charismatic character, which was certainly not depicted in the history books. Incidentally, it is interesting to note that some of the black writers who have chosen to reflect Shaka's history have a totally different picture of the man. And what we have done, hopefully, is struck a balance more in favor of the way that the blacks themselves depicted the history. We have taken what we know to be historically accurate and married it to the traditional concept and the word and mouth concept, the stuff that was passed down from word and mouth. So we have a vision, we've tried to create a picture as the Zulus themselves see their history, rather than that which is depicted through the eyes of the white men. So yes, and certainly in terms of Zulu history, our perspective changed considerably. Certainly, at the end of the day, I would like the audience to just, I hope we've succeeded, sit back and not judge him on his color. The fact that, we've talked a lot about black and white and black. The bottom line here is that we're dealing with a very good story. It is a heroic figure. It is local boy, makes very good, rises. He is a Napoleon from an ordinary background. He fought his way to the top. He and his mother created the empire, the likes of which has never been seen in Africa. He created a military infrastructure, a socio-economic infrastructure in the Zulu land of the period, which was unequaled in the territory. And I would like people to forget the fact that he happens to be black and just look at him as an heroic figure who achieved the most unbelievable things in his time. And that, I think, is important. We are dealing with an extraordinary historical figure who must be judged in the light, in the context of Africa. He must be judged on the merits of what he did, and what he did was extraordinary. And politics don't come into it. It's just a wonderful story that deserves merit, irrespective of whether the man was black, white, or whatever. So, it's to me, political boundaries in this instance have no meaning. It's a great story, and I hope that black and white children alike will look to this man as a heroic figure worthy of study.